In 2024, a silent wave of parvovirus swept different regions around the world. Veterinarians reported alarming increases in cases, with puppies arriving at clinics in critical condition. But there's something most families don't realize when they bring home that apparently healthy puppy. There's a dark connection between these devastating outbreaks and a specific type of commercial operation that the pet industry prefers to keep hidden. Today, we're going to reveal how industrial breeding operations, known as puppy mills, are silently feeding one of the deadliest diseases affecting our canine companions. We'll discover why this virus continues spreading even with vaccines available, and how unethical commercial practices are putting thousands of puppies at mortal risk. Before we begin, please leave in the comments your name and the city where you're watching our content. Now let's explore this disturbing reality that few dare to mention. The canine parvovirus, or simply parvo, is one of the most destructive viruses affecting domestic dogs. First discovered in 1976, this microscopic virus managed to spread throughout the entire world in just 2 years, causing an epidemic that killed thousands of dogs. Let's explain in simple terms how this virus works. Parvovirus specifically attacks cells that divide rapidly in the dog's body. This means it focuses mainly on the intestine, bone marrow, and, in very young puppies, even the heart muscle. When the virus invades the intestine, it destroys the internal lining, causing severe vomiting, bloody diarrhea, and extreme dehydration. The mortality rate is frightening. Without treatment, up to 91% of infected puppies can die. Even with intensive veterinary care, the mortality rate can still reach 50% in severe cases. Puppies between 6 weeks and 6 months are most vulnerable, especially those who haven't completed their vaccination cycle. What makes parvovirus particularly dangerous is its extraordinary resistance. This virus can survive in the environment for months, even during winter. It resists most common household cleaning products and can remain active in soil for more than a year. A single drop of infected feces can contain millions of viral particles, enough quantity to infect dozens of dogs. The virus spreads through contact with contaminated feces, but here's the crucial point many don't realize. A dog can be spreading the virus for several days before showing any symptoms. This means apparently healthy puppies can be carrying and transmitting this viral time bomb. Now let's talk about puppy mills, or industrial breeding operations. These are large-scale commercial operations that mass-produce puppies, prioritizing profit above animal welfare. To fully understand this industry, we need to know that there are approximately 10,000 puppy factories in the United States alone, but only 3,000 are closely monitored by authorities. Let's explain the typical conditions of these places. Breeding females spend their entire lives in wire cages, often stacked one on top of another. These cages are frequently only 6 inches larger than the dog itself on all sides, which is the minimum legally permitted size. Females are forced to reproduce every heat cycle until they can no longer generate puppies, at which point they are frequently euthanized. Overcrowding is endemic in these operations. Some puppy factories maintain more than 1,000 dogs under the same roof. This extreme population density creates the perfect environment for disease propagation, especially parvovirus. Dogs live in their own excrement, cleaning is minimal or non-existent, and access to preventive veterinary care is practically zero. Here's where the situation becomes even more alarming. Puppies are frequently removed from their mothers at only 4 to 6 weeks of age, much earlier than recommended by veterinarians. At this age, their immune systems aren't yet developed, and maternal protection is diminishing. It's exactly in this vulnerability window that parvovirus attacks with most ferocity. The lack of adequate vaccination in these establishments is another critical factor. Vaccinating all dogs would be costly and would cut into profits, so many puppy factories simply ignore vaccination protocols. When they do vaccinate, they frequently use cheap vaccines of questionable quality, or don't follow the correct schedule of multiple doses necessary for effective protection. The transportation of these puppies also contributes to the spread. Hundreds of puppies from different origins are frequently transported together in trucks over long distances, creating perfect opportunities for cross-contamination. A single infected puppy can contaminate dozens of others during transport. Pet shops are frequently the final link in this contamination chain. Approximately 90% of puppies sold in pet shops come from puppy factories. These stores often don't know or don't question the origin conditions of the puppies they receive. Let's talk about how this works in practice. Puppies arrive at stores after long and stressful trips, frequently already incubating diseases. The stress of transport and new conditions further weakens their immune systems. In pet shops, puppies from multiple origins are kept close to each other, facilitating virus transmission. The problem intensified dramatically with online sales. Classified sites and sales platforms allow anyone to sell puppies without adequate supervision. Buyers receive puppies by mail or delivery without ever seeing the conditions where they were raised. Many of these puppies arrive already infected, but since the parvovirus incubation period can be up to 14 days, symptoms only appear after the family has already become attached to the animal. The marketing of these operations is sophisticated and deceptive. Sites use professional photos of cute puppies playing in green fields, but these images rarely reflect the reality of the breeding facilities of origin. Terms like USDA licensed breeder or professional breeder are used to give credibility, but in reality, these licenses only require basic minimum standards, not ethical animal welfare standards. The consequences of this industry go far beyond infected puppies. Families who buy these animals face emotional and financial devastation. Parvovirus treatment can cost between $1,000 and $5,000 with no survival guarantee. Many families are forced to make anguishing decisions about euthanasia due to prohibitive costs. But the impact goes beyond the individual. Each infected puppy that enters a community represents a risk to other local dogs. The virus can contaminate parks, sidewalks, veterinary clinics, and anywhere the puppy has been. This environmental contamination can persist for months, threatening neighborhood dogs. There's also the impact on veterinary public health. Parvovirus outbreaks overload veterinary clinics and hospitals, which need to implement rigorous isolation and disinfection protocols. This affects care for other animals and increases operational costs that are passed on to all pet owners. The psychological consequences on the animals themselves are profound. Puppies who survive parvovirus infections frequently face long-term health problems, including chronic digestive problems and compromised immune systems. Those raised in factories also develop behavioral problems due to lack of adequate socialization during critical development periods. The breeding industry invests heavily in marketing campaigns to hide the reality of their operations. They hire public relations companies to create narratives about responsible breeding and love for animals, while maintaining conditions that anyone would consider cruel. Let's talk about the specific tactics used to deceive consumers. Many breeder sites use photos of happy puppies and smiling families, never showing the actual facilities. They create fictional stories about family breeders and multi-generational traditions, when in reality, they are pure industrial operations. A particularly insidious tactic is the use of intermediaries. Puppy factories frequently sell through brokers who operate multiple sites, each with a different identity. This makes it almost impossible for consumers to trace the real origin of puppies. When problems arise, these intermediaries simply disappear and reappear with new names and sites. The industry also works actively against legislation that would improve animal conditions. They finance political campaigns and hire lobbyists to combat laws that would require higher standards of animal care. They argue that stricter regulations would increase costs and reduce puppy availability, when in reality they're protecting their profits. Another industry secret is how they deal with sick dogs. Instead of treating infected animals, many breeding facilities simply euthanize them to avoid veterinary costs. Some go to the extreme of using improvised gas chambers or other cruel methods to eliminate sick animals en masse. Let's talk about how to identify the real origin of a puppy before purchase. Responsible breeders will always allow you to visit their facilities and meet the puppy's parents. They will have detailed vaccination records and health history. If a breeder refuses to show where puppies are born and raised, that's an immediate red flag. Ethical breeders ask questions about your lifestyle, experience with dogs, and plans for the puppy. They genuinely care about where their puppies end up. In contrast, puppy mills and their intermediaries are only interested in closing the sale quickly. Another form of protection is adopting from shelters and reputable rescue organizations. Approximately 25% of animals in shelters are purebred, so you can still find the breed you want. These animals have already received adequate veterinary care and vaccines. Preventive vaccination is absolutely crucial. Puppies should receive their first parvovirus vaccine between 6 and 8 weeks of age. followed by booster doses every 2 to 4 weeks until they complete 16 weeks. Adult dogs need annual boosters or every 3 years depending on veterinary recommendation. During the vaccination period, keep puppies away from high-risk areas like dog parks, pet shops, busy sidewalks, and anywhere many dogs transit. Use dog strollers or carry your puppy when you need to go out for veterinary consultations. If you suspect you bought a puppy from a puppy factory, document everything and report to competent authorities. Take photos, keep communication records, and seek local animal protection organizations. Your report can help close cruel operations and save other animals. Educate your community about these problems. Share information about how to identify industrial breeding facilities and the importance of responsible adoption. The more people know about this reality, the less demand there will be for puppies from industrial breeding facilities. Parvovirus is a devastating disease, but completely preventable with adequate breeding and animal care practices. The real tragedy isn't in the virus itself, but in the perpetuation of a system that prioritizes profit over animal welfare. Let's reflect on our collective responsibility. Every time someone buys a puppy from a questionable source, they're financing a system that keeps females in deplorable conditions and exposes puppies to deadly diseases. Every purchase is a vote for the continuation of these practices. Change is in our hands. When we choose responsible adoption, when we demand transparency from breeders, when we support animal protection legislation, we're building a future where no puppy needs to suffer in a breeding facility. Parvovirus will continue to exist, but mass outbreaks caused by unethical commercial practices can be eliminated. This requires all of us to make more conscious and informed choices about how we bring animals into our families. Your next action can save lives. Share this information with friends and family who are considering acquiring a puppy. Support organizations that combat breeding facilities. Choose adoption whenever possible. Together, we can break the silent cycle that continues spreading suffering and disease among our most faithful companions.